It's Wake Up Wyoming with Glenn Woods.
Six the time. It's Wake Up Wyoming. It's a Tuesday, and as I said on Monday, wow, this is going to be a really weird week.
Today's show is sponsored by watermelon-shaped door handles, bringing that summer fruit to every door in the house.
Now, I do have a great story about PETA, if you haven't heard it already, here in the Wyoming area. But before I get to that, a story I want to update from yesterday. Everybody on air here, we're all going to die.
Warning, this show contains reference to guns, liberty, limited government, low taxation, the cult of climate change, free thinking, cigar smoking, short people, rubber chickens, Karen's bureaucracy, liberal buzzwords, tour runs, traffic, toilets, terrible jokes, and more. No apologies will be issued. Guest callers may express any opinion they want without fear of being canceled. Unless you're a loudmouth jerk like Dave, then Glenn will hang up on you. Strap in, hold on to your coffee, and feel free to participate.
This disclaimer does not refer to every person named Dave, just one particular Dave from San Francisco. We know a lot of Daves. They call this show all the time, and they're great people. So don't call this program and complain that we use your name. That would be a real Dave move, Dave.
Now, real quick update on the story I gave you guys yesterday, and I just put up a post about it on the Wake Up Wyoming site and some other places. So a friend of mine in Cheyenne owns a restaurant, and an employee, Molly, just has not been able to have a good birthday, and she's trying to get Molly a ice cream cake. The person who was supposed to create the cake forgot, and then when she did sell her an older one, it was basically burnt and frosted. You know, I mean, when it gets so cold, it ruins the cake. Yeah, that kind of crystals in it and all that. So she tried to get someone else to make a cake, but that person's in rehab. So she sends out a note to one of her employees, could you please pick up a cake for Molly for work? But she accidentally sent that note to me on Facebook Messenger. In which case I said, I think you sent this to the wrong person, and her answer is, well, no wonder I didn't get the cake. So, okay, that's all right. See, I will help out. I was asked to get a cake for Molly, even though it was sent to the wrong person. Problem is, I'm not going to put that cake in my car and drive 2.5 hours to get the cake to Molly. So I just showed up at work with this ice cream cake and told everybody, just if you have a piece, make sure you take a picture of yourself eating it and send that picture to me with a happy birthday, Molly. And so I have a bunch of pictures of people at work eating the cake. Happy birthday, Molly. Now, Molly doesn't get to participate in the cake, and I feel really bad about that, but I was asked to get a cake for her, so I hope that makes her birthday a little bit better. That somebody was able to enjoy her birthday cake. Not her, unfortunately. Or maybe fortunately, because after I posted the story, I find out there has been a nationwide ice cream cake recall because of botulism. So, and all of us who decided to help Molly out by getting the cake here and eat it for her are probably going to die. Now, you gotta watch what you eat, right? So, on that note, we now have an opportunity here in Wyoming, once again, to pick on PETA. And if we're going to pick on PETA, we picked the perfect song for it.
Tried to amend my carnivorous habits. Made it nearly 70 days. Losing weight without speed, eating sunflower seeds. Drinking lots of carrot juice and soaking over rays. But at night I'd have these wonderful drinks. Some kind of sensuous treat. Not zucchini, fettuccine, bulgur wheat. But a big warm bun and a huge hunk.
Okay, all together, you know the words. Okay, here's what you put on your cheeseburger. That's fine. I like mustard, not Heinz 57. Big kosher pickle, I highly approve of. Okay, so here's the story, and it's not surprising, but PETA has decided to employ scare tactics here in the state of Wyoming. So the story is they're using the bird flu and how it's infected cows, too, using dairy in Wyoming. PETA placed a sky-high warning in Casper featuring a chicken armed with an AR-15, suggesting that the saturated fat and cholesterol in meat, if that doesn't kill them, the bird flu might. PETA's billboard is located at 925 and Highway 87 if you want to go see it. Wyoming is the 12th state where cows have been infected with bird flu, which has already been transmitted to humans multiple times, including 6 cases reported in Colorado. Here's a quote. Eating meat, eggs, dairy from animals who are crammed into filthy sheds and into feedlots by the millions is disgusting. And these farms are breeding grounds for the next pandemic, says the PETA president. So PETA urges everyone to go vegan before it's too late. Now, of course, I've seen vegans many times in my life, and they don't look too healthy. Honestly, they don't. The organization has gone so far, the story says, as offering free vegan starter kits. Oh, hang on, I'm clicking on that link. I got to see that. With free empathy kits for people who need a lesson in kindness. As far as the bird flu direction goes, Wyoming State Veterinarian encourages all dairy producers to closely monitor their herds of cattle to see, the symptoms might be. Quote, the primary concern, the diagnosis is on dairy products losses, and the disease has been associated with decreased milk production. And then it goes on about the CDC and the Food and Drug Administration and so on. But, yeah, I'm looking at the billboard here. Big billboard, chicken, holding an AR-15. If bacon and burgers don't get you, I may. Bird flu kills, please try vegan. Now, I clicked on that website. Animals are not ours, says PETA, to experiment on, eat, wear, use for entertainment, or abuse in any other way. Order your vegan starter kit. Do you know that you can save nearly 200 animals per year by going vegan? Yes, going vegan saves lives, it says. Then it talks about good nutrition and some of the dishes that they can serve up that would be vegan dishes. Now, then, name, address, phone number, and so on to order your starter kit, which I'm not going to do. Now, I will say this much, that when it comes to some vegan recipes, there's actually some really good recipes and very good foods out there. However, it can actually be much more expensive, believe it or not, to go vegan. And also, like I said, I've known several vegans, quite a few vegans, and they never look all that healthy to me. Frankly, we need meat in our diets. It's just part of who we are.
Can I get a beef taco, extra cheese, and a side of guac, please?
Oh, we don't do that here, sir. Can I offer you our vegan gluten-free broccoli tacos with cashew cheese?
Well, what the hell did you just say to me?
Broccoli tacos.
I asked for a taco, not a vegetable.
It is a taco, sir. We just use broccoli instead of meat, and spinach wraps instead of tortillas.
Oh, cool. Got it. So it's not a taco at all?
It is.
How about some chicken fajitas? Can I do chicken fajita?
No chicken fajitas either, sir. How about some crispy kale lettuce wraps?
A what wrap?
Crispy kale wrapped in lettuce with a side of vegan coleslaw.
So it's a salad wrapped in a salad with a side of salad.
It's light and delicious.
All right, look, can I just do like a burger or something?
Absolutely.
Oh, cool. Finally. Thank you.
What kind would you like?
Just like a regular hamburger.
Yeah, we don't do that. How about a grilled cauliflower burger?
What?
We use cauliflower instead of a patty and flaxseed crackers instead of a bun.
Yeah, that's not a burger. That's a flour on a cracker.
It's really delicious.
Can I just get a sandwich?
Sure. What kind?
Just like something simple, like a turkey sub or something.
Yeah, we don't do turkey here, sir. How does a tofu spinach sub sound?
It sounds depressing.
Instead of turkey, you get tofu. Instead of bread, you get almond. And instead of eating animals, you save the planet.
Okay, listen, lady, I don't care about the planet when I'm hungry.
The tofu sub is one of my favorites.
What about like a tuna fish sandwich?
Yeah, we don't do fish here, sir. How about a raw asparagus cashew milk?
How about you serve some real food?
Sir, we firmly believe in a raw...
Hey, man, you want some chicken pot pie? Hell yeah, dude, those are my 3 favorite things.
Yep, there you have it. A new level of crazy. And you heard it here. Now, it's in your pocket with the Wake Up Wyoming mobile app. This is AM 1030 K2 Radio.
6:23 is the time. It's Wake Up Wyoming. It's a Tuesday. Now, you're going to have some warm weather today. You're going to hear this in your weather forecast. And then after the warm weather, we have this cool down, which is like Canada is testing the fall machine because temperatures are going to drop for the eastern part of Wyoming, and some more showers are going to come in, which is definitely going to help with the forest fires that we have out there. Oh, good news for people out in the Guernsey area, in that whole county around that area, and some other forest fires that have popped up around Wyoming. Rain coming in. Cooler temperatures and rain. And those fires are already about 60% contained, which is far better than they were before because it was just a mess before. They had a hard time containing any of that. So, okay, a couple of notes I just got. If you missed the story about PETA, if you're just joining me, PETA put up a billboard in the Casper, Wyoming area. It shows a chicken holding an AR-15. And it says, if the meat doesn't get you, I will. Or if the, and I think it's talking red meat there. Then I will, says the chicken. It's talking bird flu, stuff like that. And so Jeff in Casper has the same question that I had. Does PETA support the NRA since the chicken has a gun? I was wondering that too. Why would they give the chicken an AR-15? They must have had a discussion about that for the implications of it. Then there's TC in Queens Creek. And by the way, TC, where is Queens Creek? I'm not familiar with that, but I'd like to look it up. He said, good morning, Glenn. I know you read the Washington Free Beacon, but in case you missed it, there's an interesting article titled Meet the Little-Known Activist Group that has tens of thousands. Now, this I thought was really interesting. The Biden's Get Out the Vote campaign, which is not exactly something he should be doing. This is a big conflict of interest, but okay. A little-known activist group that has tens of thousands of doctors registering patients to vote. You might find that intriguing, and I'll take a look at that. I've seen articles to that effect before, but yeah, the Biden administration has all sorts of different ways to get people to register to vote, including when you go see your doctor. Not every doctor, but some doctors are doing this. Now, you know how I feel about that. You know the way I think about that when it comes to everybody showing up to vote. Everybody has the right to vote. But does that mean that they're qualified to vote or that they should?
Do you pay much attention to politics? So what, do you get your news from Facebook, Twitter, maybe some late-night comedy show? Do you even have any idea who your senator is? Who's the vice president? So how do you decide who you're going to vote for? What do you, flip a coin? Every election season, there are get-out-the-vote campaigns, asking completely unqualified voters to show up at the polls at the last minute and flip a coin. If you've spent the past few years completely uninformed and out of the loop, then do your country a favor. Don't show up at the polls. Don't vote. Take the day off. Go to the beach. Hang out at your local bar. Watch a ball game instead. Or check out some reality TV. Our nation's in sad shape because people like you have been voting. So this year, do your country a favor. Stay home. Stay out of the vote. America is depending on your apathy. Brought to you by the Campaign to Promote Uninformed Voter Apathy.
And every couple of years I do this, and especially every 4 years during a big presidential election, there's always somebody who doesn't get what I'm doing. I'm not saying don't vote. You have every right to vote. As an American, you have every right to go vote. But, of course, you have to be an American citizen. You can't be in this country illegally. But you have every right to go vote. But also you have a responsibility as a voter to make sure that you're informed before you show up. And like I keep telling people every single year, Googling a couple of things is not being informed. Looking up a website or two is not being informed. There's a lot more information that you need to dig into so you really know who and what you're voting for. Advantage living in a place like Wyoming where you can go ahead and meet your candidates and you have an opportunity to do so. Go do that so you can go ahead and talk to them in person and get a better feel for them. So you at least have a more informed decision rather than just showing up on election day and just guessing. Which reminds me, I think we might have entered into, I'll have to double check this, aren't we into early voting now as far as the primaries go in the state of Wyoming? And you will hear we have some candidates, some of the bigger name candidates out there that are going to be coming up on this program. So far, I've had some county commissioners from around the state of Wyoming. Since this program's heard on radio stations around Wyoming, some different city council members, county commissioners have popped up in the program, and they're welcome to do so. Then there's some of the bigger races, and some of those candidates will be coming on in the program in the next few days to let you know what they think before they get on, which is just part of the process of you getting informed. But again, if you have an opportunity to learn something by meeting them in person, and different places have different events, no matter where you are, usually politicians have some kind of an event that they're going to go to where you can go ahead and meet them in person and have a conversation with them. For me, I narrowed it down. I have just one question that I ask, and depending on how they answer that one question, I know whether I'm going to vote for them or not. Assuming, of course, they told me the truth, right? All right, coming up on some local news that we got to take care of after a local news update on that weather forecast, which you're going to hear a little bit about a cool down, especially at 6:45 when Don Day does his extended forecast for you. Then we're going to hear about a cool down that comes on Thursday and Friday and Saturday, which is a massive change from the weather that we have had over the past couple of weeks. It's Wake Up Wyoming.
So many opinions, we had to build the Wake Up Wyoming mobile app to hold them all. Free download from AM 1030 K2 Radio.
Okay, here I am, 6:36 the time, Wake Up Wyoming. So, big wave in Casper. I've seen that Babylon Bee article about the boxers, and that was hysterical. I mean, absolutely. I think one of their best headlines of the week. Babylon Bee is just killing it. TC in Queens Creek. Queens Creek is a city about 75,000 people east of Phoenix near Gilbert and Chandler. Okay. I will look that up. I had no idea. Because I'm thinking you're probably closer up into the, maybe Wyoming or Nebraska or South Dakota, Colorado area, something like that, where most of the listeners are. But I'll go look that up because I haven't actually heard of Queens Creek. All right, Addison from Panama City, Florida. Hilarious article about Molly's cake. Yeah. Yeah. Did you get all the way to the end? Because it's the ending which shows that there's a little bit of karma to that story. If you haven't seen it, it's on the Wake Up Wyoming site. If you have the Wake Up Wyoming app, Miss Mary will alert it out at some point. But it's something we did for a birthday cake. Let's see. I want to get to the firefighters real quick out there. To all the firefighters who are out there, Lord, thank you guys. They've been battling like crazy against some fires that, with the winds that have been blowing, it's been so difficult to contain. And there's been a couple of fires that they thought they had put out, but then got restarted. And back they are again. And some of these things, big fires that are combined. Firefighters battling Pleasant Valley Fire near Guernsey, Wyoming, have barricaded the massive wildfire in a steep terrain. They've cornered it in the Haystack Range that is blamed for burning the homestead of U.S. Representative Harriet Hageman, where she spent about 7 years of her life as a little girl. At 7 years old, they moved away from there, but it was a little cabin-like home. Meanwhile, two separate wildfires in the northeastern part of Wyoming have grown to about 24,000 acres, stretching resources, says the story from Cowboy State Daily. In part of the state, Pleasant Valley fire is getting tamped down by the southeastern corner. Quote, we're making progress on both of them and will be helped with cooler weather coming. And that is true. We do have later this week into Thursday especially. We get into Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. Much cooler temperatures and a good chance of rain. That's going to help them a lot. It's going to feel like fall in some places. See, a third fire, Clearwater Fire, has been burning on the steep Shoshone National Forest, about 11 miles west of Wapiti, Wyoming, and I just love when I get to say Wapiti. Anyway, that fire is about 7% contained and has burned about 1,786 acres. A spokesman for the agency fighting that fire, which began July 19th, said it started from a lightning strike. We had a lot of really dry thunderstorms out there producing lightning. Clearwater fire briefly shut down the east entrance to Yellowstone National Park. That's open again. Most of the state's attention, however, has been in the Guernsey area, about 350 miles southeast of Yellowstone Park entrance. So way on the other side of the state, if you don't know. As of Monday, Pleasant Valley fire had burned about 29,000 acres and reportedly about 65% contained. So there is where we are now with, let me see, one more. Type team talks about the teams that are up there. Oh, I'm looking at some pictures of the fire. And really, it's just since there's so much grassland out in the area, you know what the Blackened Hillsides look like. Real quick, back to the Harriet Hageman homestead. That was, I thought, a very interesting story because she, and let's see, I think they had a bunch of kids in a 2-bedroom cabin, essentially, when she was growing up. So she was there until she was 7 years old. And the place doesn't look like much. Because when you picture Harriet Hageman and her family, they're very successful people. So you expect them to live in a really ritzy kind of place. But no. It actually was just more of a very humble cabin. But then they moved up and out of there and got to the Fort Laramie area and so on. But that original homestead is done. Let's see. Queens says, Jim, Queens Creek is very close to where my parents live in Chandler, Arizona. Driven through it dozens of times. Oh, okay. Another suburb of Phoenix. I'll have to go. I have never heard of that before, but I'll have to go look that up. All right. So I want to go back to the firefighters that are out there. Cannot thank you guys enough for all that you've done. There's another article, besides the people that have been on the ground, there's another article that I put up. So where I have a partnership in a Cessna 172 airplane at the airport in Casper, Wyoming. And where the hangar is, they just built a new facility they used to have airplanes come in for fire season. And most of the airplanes are basically crop dusters that were set up for close quarter firefighting. But now they have a whole new facility that if I open up my hangar door, I can stand there and look at the new facility. It's like right there. They just opened it. And now they have some big firefighting airplanes, bombers. You would not believe the size of some of these airplanes, along with the smaller ones that are staged there and have been working, not just Wyoming, but flying out of there to Montana and some other states to help out with those fires as well. If you'd like to see pictures of what those airplanes look like, they're up on the Wake Up Wyoming website this morning. Really impressive machines. 642, Wake Up Wyoming.
Want to talk to Glenn? Call 888-97-WOODS or chat him on the Wake Up Wyoming mobile app. This is AM 1030 K2 Radio.
6:48 is the time. It's Wake Up Wyoming. Off to the icebox we go. Frank Gambino is waiting by. So, okay, Frank, I came across this story about a horrible person who was on Instagram, and he was basically extorting money from people, right?
Okay, so somebody threw him in the river or something?
Yeah, so that would be, I think, probably the best thing to do, with some really heavy bricks tied to him.
Sleep with the fishes.
See, but here's the problem. When, let's say someone robs a bank, oftentimes the way the police catch the guy is they just wait for someone to start bragging about it to his buddies down at the local watering hole. That's typically how they get caught.
Right.
And then in this case, we have social media and also podcasts. So this guy's on a podcast bragging about how he's extorted money from Instagram users.
Right. Isn't that beautiful?
Yeah, and then somebody hears this and reports it to the FBI. And, of course, the podcast is recorded, so the FBI can go back and listen to it again. And now they've got the guy. So to me, one more reason to fall in love with social media is you get to catch a lot of people who not just talk about the nasty things they do, but post pictures and video.
Aren't criminals idiots to begin with?
Yes. In fact, there's a whole...
There's sometimes they're really smart.
Yeah.
I mean, like, ingenuity-wise,
yes.
Oh,
yeah.
But at the end of the day, they're idiots.
Yeah, and oftentimes they have a bit of an ego that goes with them. And that ego is what usually gets them in trouble. In fact, I remember It was a case here in Wyoming. It goes back quite a ways. But somebody had committed a murder in Wyoming and then dumped this body into essentially what was like a bog and let it just sink down to the bottom. Many years later, this is just a missing person. Everybody assumed the guy was dead, murdered, something like that. Many years later, the guy who had committed the crime was sitting in the bar bragging about what he had done.
Well.
Yeah. And so the police went and found the body and went and got the guy. And so oftentimes, all you got to do is, this is good detective work. Go to your local watering hole, sit down and have a few drinks, and just kind of listen for the bonehead to fess up.
They do that. All right, American Legion baseball tomorrow. The Cheyenne Sixers, the state AA Legion champions, will be playing in the Northwest Regional in Billings, Montana. They will take on the Eugene Challengers tomorrow at 9:30 in the morning in the opening round. The Sixers defeated Gillette for the state championship last week over in Lansing Field. They sport a mark of 68-17. Eugene comes into this game with a record of 46-8. Remember, last year the Sixers won the region, the Northwest Regional Tournament, advanced to the Legion World Series in Shelby, North Carolina. They went 2-2. It was a historic run. It was the first time ever a Wyoming team had qualified for the Legion World Series a year ago. In the Legion A ranks, the Powell Pioneers, the state champions, they finished the year at 47-18, but they have opted out of their Northwest Regional in Roseburg, Idaho. They had a great season and beat Cody for the championship game back on Wednesday 5-4. In Major League Baseball, the Colorado Rockies will host the New York Mets tonight in Denver. Rockies are 41-72. They're awful. The Mets are 59-53, which is good, kind of, but not considering the money they've put into that team. Cheyenne native Brandon Nimmo is the starting left fielder for the Mets, and he's really struggled this season. He's hitting .233 with 118 strikeouts in 106 games. He went 0 for 4 in their 6-0 win over St. Louis yesterday. At the Paris Summer Olympics in men's basketball, the U.S. will take on Brazil in a knockout round. Remember, the U.S. Men's basketball team has won the Olympic gold medal 5 straight times. They have the women's 200-meter final in track and field, the men's 1,500-meter final in track and field, and other events on the agenda today in Paris: sport climbing, skateboarding, canoeing, water polo, equestrian diving, and table tennis. And in pro football, longtime Denver Broncos star Randy Gradishar was inducted into the Hall of Fame over the weekend in Canton, Ohio. He was part of that Maine Orange Crush defense in the late 70s and early 80s that was fantastic. He was a linebacker, tackling machine, had over 2,000 tackles in 10 years with the Broncos, and was the 1978 Defensive Player of the Year in the National Football League. And that's in sports.
2,000 tackles.
Yeah, he was fantastic.
Yeah.
I don't think the Broncos have had good defensive players, but not a guy like this.
Yeah. See, in other words, when you see him on the other side of your line, you might as well just admit to yourself you don't have a line.
They couldn't get him off his feet.
Yeah.
They tried to, undercut him and everything. They just could not get the guy off his feet.
That guy made a deal with gravity.
He did.
All right. Thank you, Frank. Coming up on some local business we got to take care. We're going to roll into news time after that. National local update on the weather forecast. And then the latest that Vice President Harris said, that we found that she said a few years ago. It's fun to go digging into her past and then compare it to what she says today. That and a whole lot more next hour of the program and your phone calls. 888-97 Woods. Wake up, Wyoming. The time. It's Wake Up Wyoming. It's a Tuesday. Gonna be another warm one today and tomorrow, but then things cool down a whole lot with some rain moving into the area. You're actually going to believe it's fall, but it's not going to be. I'll explain.
Today's show was sponsored by watermelon-shaped door handles, bringing that summer fruit to every door in the house.
And every detail of that is coming away at 7:45. Don Day will be on with me for an extended weather forecast, which also includes a lot of relief for the fires that we've had out there. And once again, thanks to all the firefighters. But yeah, that's going to be a lot of relief to all the fires that we've had out there, cooler temperatures and rain moving through the area later this week. All right, so your Vice President, Harris, now running for president. It's kind of fun during a time like this to go back and listen to what politicians said before compared to what they're saying now. Like when Harris said, she's all in favor of fracking to get at oil. Whereas before, no, we have to ban it. And I'm waiting for, news media has asked her some questions about this. Not enough, as far as I'm concerned, but they have asked her. And the answers that Harris's surrogates give, because she hasn't done any interviews yet, but the answers that her surrogates have been giving is, opinions evolve over time and a lot of gaslighting going on. All right. So let's go back a little bit. The word woke has really changed meanings a lot in the woke crowd. And this is where Harris uses the word woke. And I'm going to play the audio for you in just a moment. Now, the word woke originally was meant to mean, we woke up and saw things for what they really were and wanted to do something about them. So we are now awakened. We are woke. Woke has devolved over time. First off, to mean so many things, but also is now used for just stupid. Because woke became so extreme over time that now if you call someone woke, they often get insulted. In fact, I've watched, there's some YouTube channels out there where people will show videos of somebody doing something really stupid, and they'll call that person woke, which has nothing to do with their political or social ideology. It just means they're dumb. So that's what the word has changed into now. All right. So let's go back a little bit. Let's make sure I get the timeline set on this. So it says, a clip of Vice President Harris 2017 on everybody needs to be woke, referring to social media sparking critics and conservatives and lambasters of the official Democrat nominee, saying that basically she's a radical from a communist factory. And I can believe that communists come out of factories. But they're all cookie cutter. But hang on, here's what she said. And I'm sorry, I'd like you to listen to this, but turn down the radio a little bit. Don't turn it off, if you would, so you can still hear it. But turn it down. Because there's a whole lot of cackling going on.
We have to stay active. And, we have to stay woke. Like, everybody needs to be woke. And you can talk about if you're the wokest or woker, but just stay more woke than less woke. Yeah.
Okay. And there was more to it than that, but I figured that's about all you can handle. The conference that she was at focused on things like immigration, environment, introducing Harris to speak out against the Trump administration, drug policies, immigration policies, and so on and so on and so on. And basically, she called on Americans just to be woke about everything. So in other words, she didn't have an answer. Just be woke. She said, quote, and I'm going to read this so you don't have to put up with all the giggling and cackling. I get upset, she said, when people say you're going to shut the door on refugees who are fleeing such atrocities and have been standing in line for years to qualify for refugee status. And they arrive here and we turn them away. Yes, I'm going to get mad about that. I'm going to get mad when we have an attorney general who's trying to resuscitate the war on drugs, and he thinks it's the greatest evil that mankind has ever seen, like marijuana. Leave grandma's medical marijuana alone, Harris said. And then she sent out, it's now X, what was Twitter at the time. We have to stay active. We have to stay woke, she said. Now, the story here says the word woke grew in popularity in 2017 when dictionaries such as the Oxford and Merriam-Webster added the phrase, defining it as people who are attentive to issues such as social justice. It has since become a catch-all word for the left-wing issues and agendas. Now, what I want to know is, are they going to be changing that definition or adding to it to say now woke just means stupid. Because that's really what it means. Again, whenever someone is doing something really dumb, they're called just a woke idiot. Here's another one. I wonder if this is the same one. Let me play this here.
You know, we have to say woke.
Same
like
one.
Everybody needs to be woke.
Okay, I'll stop that because she starts cackling again. These are people posting that over and over and over again. The clip comes after President, there's this clip that I just played for you, comes after President Biden dropped out of the race. And now we're starting to take a closer look at VP Harris to find out what kind of, I'm not going to do it. I was about to say what kind of president she would be. I know there's only so much you can take in the morning. Morning, Ricky's in Cheyenne. Why are they trying to convince us that Camilla made up her mind about her vice president? We all know the only thing she made up was her heritage. Well, okay. I think though, Rick, you have a good point here. I don't think, in my opinion, while Harris has a say in who's going to be her vice presidential pick, I mean, she was part of the conversation. But I don't believe, because we're going to hear in just a little bit who she's picking as her vice presidential running mate. All right. But that discussion went on for quite a while. And just like we know that Joe Biden had handlers and Joe Biden wasn't really making any decisions because he wasn't capable of it, I look at the same thing with Harris. Yes, she's in the room. Yes, they're definitely listening to her. But she's not really the person, I don't believe, who's in charge here, because I don't think she has the mental capacity to do it. So this was a big discussion, and they said in the news, which I'm not necessarily believing, that she went to bed last night not having made up her mind, and she slept on it, the decision of who her vice presidential running mate's going to be. I don't believe that that's the way it's working behind the scenes. I really don't. There's too many players here. I mean, when Biden was not just running, but even now, where is Biden, by the way? What is he doing? Anything really? He's not making a whole lot of news. And since we know he's napping most of the day, who's really making the decisions here? Not Harris. She never did, and she's also on the campaign trail. So who's really running the show? It's all behind the scenes at this point. But they won't ever dare say that out loud.
They say cows are bad for the environment because all they do is eat plants and fart. Just like vegans.
Honestly, he's just happy to be here. Catch Glenn Woods on Wake Up Wyoming, weekdays at 6 on air, on Alexa, and on the Wake Up Wyoming app.
It's the time. It's Wake Up Wyoming. Real quick side note for you, and we'll get into it just as more information comes in. Looks like Vice President Harris has picked Minnesota Governor Tim Walz to be her vice presidential pick for this race. More information on that in just a few minutes. But first off, Butch is on the phone with us from Cheyenne, co-owner, I guess, along with your father, Butch, of DeWalt Lumber Company. Is that correct?
Capital Lumber Company.
Capital Lumber Company. Okay. But now you guys apparently have a big logo on a hot race car, and I want to know all about this. First off, what kind of race car is this? What class are we talking about here?
It is the Joe Gibbs Racing NASCAR, DeWalt number 20.
Wow. Okay. I got to look at the picture of this because a brochure was sent to me. That's some nice looking colors on this, and it's going to take up most of the car.
Absolutely. Yeah, and DeWalt is celebrating their 100th year, and we're just excited to be able to have Cap Lumber be one of the stops across the country this fall.
Okay. Now, for those people who may not know, and you would have to be on another planet, DeWalt does tools of all kinds. I mean, name it, they do it. So it's one of the biggest names in tools. Tell me a little bit about the lumber company there for people who may not be familiar with where you are and what you do.
Well, Capital Lumber, Cheyenne, we're at 1222 Dunn Avenue. We're fourth generation, about ready to become, add the fifth generation, been around since 1965. So we're just an independent family-owned yard, trying to take care of all the needs that we can.
Okay. So the race car, I guess, is going to be on, are you going to have it on display there with you guys?
Yes, sir. Yep. Today from 10 to 2, They're going to have all the DeWalt team is going to be here as well to answer any questions you may have about any tools or about the car itself.
Okay. All right. So now it's a good idea to go in there and talk about the tools that you normally pick up for the work that you do. Now, as far as the car goes, anybody there from the race team?
Yeah, they have a traveling kind of liaisons with this car. It is one of their show cars, so it's kind of a backup to the backup.
Okay.
But the car itself is the same car that you would see out, racing on Sunday.
Oh, so if you're a big NASCAR fan, head on down there. You said between 10 and 2 is when it's going to be there?
Yes, sir.
Okay. How do people get to your location?
Well, if you're familiar with Cheyenne and all, the Big Boy Train and Holiday Park,
yeah,
we're directly south. We're right on the intersection of Nation Way and Lincoln Way.
Okay. I'm very familiar with that as there. And you guys have a lot of vehicles. Well, in fact, I was about to say vehicles. Right away, that also reminded me of the car dealership you have there. That's got a lot of vehicles, Jeeps and so on that are up there. You're in that area, but you're, I think, pretty close to them, right? I mean, almost right next to them?
Yes, sir. Yeah, you got Cowboy Dodge.
Yeah.
And then you have Fat Boys Tire. Yes. And then we are directly to the east.
Okay. Know exactly where you are now. Yeah. So go on by between 10 and 2 o'clock. Go and find out about all the tools that are available and then find out about that race car, which again, looking at the pictures of the race car, that thing just looks like it's moving even when it's sitting still, the way they have that thing designed.
Yeah, they've definitely done a really good job with the graphics on the side of all these cars, and they do move, so glad that they can keep up with it.
Okay. I'm sure you'll be taking that for a little spin this afternoon.
Boy, God willing.
Yeah, right. Okay. Hey, Butch, thanks for coming on this morning.
Thank you, sir.
All right. 10 and 2 this afternoon is where you want to stop by. Take a look at their lumber company and all DeWalt tools and, of course, that hot car that they have out there, which is actually a NASCAR. So, yeah, Woody is from Evansville. Yep, I just announced that a moment ago, but I'm getting details. Minnesota Governor Tim Walz is her VP pick. And it was interesting how at first news organizations were saying it looks like that's going to be her pick, but she hadn't said anything yet. Here's the latest that I have on VP Harris and her pick. Multiple reports Tuesday morning indicated that Kamala Harris personally chose, and again, I kind of doubt that she personally chose, but I don't think she's too much in charge there, but that's just me. Maybe not. Minnesota Governor Tim Walz to be her vice presidential running mate for the White House 2024. She will introduce Walz at a rally in Philadelphia. And as I always have to say, whenever you hear me say Philadelphia and you wonder why I say it that way, go there. So, okay, they're planning an announcement, a video message before the rally. At exact timing, unclear. More to come. That's all they have to say. And I've gone to several news organizations looking for the latest on the story, and that's about all anybody has right now is that's the pick. I'm checking out a couple of other news organizations right now. Nope, that's all I have. So this is Tim Walz, and again, he's the Minnesota governor, Democrat, and I kind of thought that might be the case as they started to narrow down the playing field. And pardon me for thinking of it in this terms, but I'm thinking about it the way Democrats tend to think about it, is if you have Kamala Harris, then what you want to offset her is, and Republicans don't always do this, Democrats think this way, so you want an old white guy. Well, and I take a look at, let's say when Barack Obama was top of the ticket. Who would you have to balance Barack Obama? Yeah, you would have Joe Biden, an old white guy, right? Republicans don't tend to do that. They have somebody who, that usually, not always, but usually matches the person that's running. So if the president is no longer president, who would you have on the ticket that would pretty much be just like him, the same guy? Again, they don't always do that. Sometimes they pick someone who could do a good job if the president was no longer around, but someone who doesn't overshadow. You don't want a personality that's bigger than the person that you're running for president. You want somebody who's a little bit lesser known and not so much in the spotlight all the time, which is why when he had George Bush, when he was running, who did he pick at his running mate? Now, on the other hand, George W. Bush picked Dick Cheney. But Dick Cheney kind of held in the background a little bit. He was a big name at the time, but he kind of stayed out of the limelight as much as he could. He wasn't really someone who was trying to get constant attention. All right. But in this case, though, I think that's, and it tends to me, I think the way Democrats think is whatever offsets the other side of the ticket. So if you have someone who meets a certain demographic, let's say, here we have a minority woman, and they're making a big deal out of it that it's a minority woman. So who would you pick to offset a minority woman? Well, again, get the older white guy. That's who they're going to pick. And that's who they seem to have picked. Now, I don't know a whole lot about him. We'll find out more because over the next few days, it's going to be a nonstop news cycle about Tim DeWalt to find out who he is for the rest. I mean, the state of Minnesota knows, but the rest of us really don't. So they're going to be digging deep into his background to find out who that he was. But as they were picking, like Shapiro was one of the other possible picks, but I looked at Shapiro as too young. He seemed to be an energetic young guy. And I thought, no, you probably don't want to do that because, again, you want to reach that older demographic. They look at things as in focus testing them. Before we pick a candidate, before we pick someone to run alongside Harris, we got to focus test this. How does this test well when we get in front of audiences? And think about that. You got to go ahead and focus test, and this is what Democrats love to do. Focus test every single word, every phrase, every person, every move they make. I mean, even the Clintons would not do personal appearances anywhere, even when they went on vacation. I remember this from back in the Clinton era. The Clintons, when they went on vacation, would focus test groups asking where should the Clintons be seen on vacation, and that's where they would go. That's how deep they can dive into all of this. So, all right, coming up on some local news we got to take care of after local news update on the weather forecast. You and I again. Then Don Day has an extended weather forecast, which has a radical change for later this week, which is going to be really good news for firefighters. Wake up, Wyoming.
Wake Up Wyoming with Glenn Woods. Make your voice heard at 888-97-WOODS. This is AM 1030 K2 Radio.
7:36 the time. Wake Up Wyoming. Okay, some questions and comments about what I was just saying earlier. So Tim Walz, who is the governor of Minnesota, has been chosen as Harris's vice presidential candidate. And as I was going through before, what I think is the reason that they chose him, which is Democrats tend to focus group things and try to have what they see as a ticket that will have the broadest possible appeal. And Republicans, on the other hand, don't tend to do that. They just pick, we have Trump here, so who would best complement Trump? Well, it looks like J.D. Vance could possibly do that, someone who agrees with what Trump says and does. They don't try to think in those terms. Like, for example, why would you take Tim Walz? Same reason that Biden was picked for Obama. If you're going to have Obama, then you want some old white guy, which is why I think Walz was picked. And they tend to do that. They focus group everything. Now, on that, I.D. John in Granite Canyon says, morning, Glenn. Walz is more liberal than Harris, to which I responded, how is that even possible? And morning, Blue Eyes. She's in Douglas. Why can't we pick people that we know would be good for us, for the U.S.? Why do you have to worry about color, where they came from? Let's get over that already. Quit keeping that in front of us. You've got to be qualified for the job, she's saying. It doesn't matter what you look like. And I agree with that. I would just like to find well-qualified people. And by the way, I saw a question the other day on social media, which I thought was a good question, because people are really angry when we say that Vice President Harris was a DEI hire. People get mad about that. Well, if DEI is such a good thing, then why do you get mad when she's called a DEI hire? Now, let me ask that question again, because I think it's a really important question. Diversity, equity, and inclusion. You hire someone to make your company more diverse. Not because they're qualified for the job. Not because they're the best, the brightest, the most talented, et cetera, et cetera. You hired that person because, well, we need to be more diverse. That's a DEI hire. Now, if that's such a good thing, then why do people get mad when they're called a DEI hire? I thought that was a good thing. Why does it make you mad? Reason is they know they're being called unqualified. They know exactly the reason. Are you saying that I'm not qualified for the job? But I thought DEI was a good thing. Why would you? Okay. That's where we are right now. As I get more information on who this governor is, I'll let you know. Now, this is, next one here, this is just for the fun of it. We're going to get more into this tomorrow and later this week because this is just too good. Earlier this month, in fact, last month too, I was making fun of, I had seen in Wyoming one of those Tesla trucks. You know, the stainless steel body, the sharp corners, all of that. And I thought the Tesla truck just looked ugly, right? Tesla's Cybertruck is being mistaken for garbage cans by dumpster diving raccoons. In the wilds of Minnesota, where this current governor is from, the unsuspecting Tesla truck owner recently discovered that raccoons have had no respect for his futuristic engineering of his truck. During what was supposed to be a serene camping trip, the owner found the truck's cover. This is where, you know, the bed of the pickup truck has a cover that rolls down. Yeah, a bunch of raccoons were trying to claw into it. Now, if you take a look at the cover of, we'll take a look at what a dumpster is shaped like. A garbage dumpster is shaped like. And then take a look at the plastic cover when we close that garbage dumpster. Now take a look at the back of a Tesla truck and that same cover. That's what raccoons are thinking. Oh, look, a dumpster, a new dumpster. As shared on Cybertruck Owners Club forum, the raccoons, perhaps just one particularly determined one, it looks like it might be one, but made a bold, in the pictures I'm looking at, bold attempt overnight. Despite its reputation for ruggedness, the trim was no match for the sharp teeth, claws, and persistence of the animal. So there was a lot of damage done to the back of the vehicle as this raccoon tried to get into what it thought was a dumpster. This is not going to go well for people who own Tesla Cybertrucks who think that their vehicle looks very cool and very futuristic. Well, not according to raccoons. According to raccoons, they think it just looks like a dumpster. And so do the rest of us, for that matter. Okay, real quick, Michelle is in Cheyenne. Don't the Democrats still have to do a convention? Yes, Michelle, I thought this was really unusual. They went ahead and had a vote before the convention, which is unusual, and declared that Harris is their presidential pick. Then Harris picked her vice presidential candidate. And they've done this before the convention. This, Michelle, is going to be a really interesting convention. 742, wake up.
You asked for an expert. We didn't have the budget for that. Wake Up Wyoming with Glenn Woods, weekdays 6 to 10 a.m. and 24/7 on the Wake Up Wyoming app.
And off we go to talk to Don Day from Day Weather, who's got the best view. In case you didn't know, Don Day's at the airport in Cheyenne, where his office is in a hangar, and you look out your office window and see what?
321. 47 and 8. Various reasons will not play.
Hang on just a second here. I am switched over. Yeah, there you go. Don, are you there?
I'm here.
There you go. Okay, I had my switches backwards. Sorry. So you were looking out your window and you saw what?
The Blue Angels.
Oh, wow. And they just, you just got them taxiing right along.
Well, yeah, it was, I was not expecting them. I mean, they had quite the fly over town before they came in and landed. And we're here about an hour or so, then took off again and headed off to their next adventure.
Okay.
But, boy, it was a real treat.
Yeah.
It was a real treat to see them.
my treat is both there's a couple of airports in Wyoming, both the Casper and Cheyenne airports, which have nice, big, long runways, and they tend to get fuel stops from things like that, from all sorts of exotic airplanes and so on. From my airplane hangar, when I open up the door, I look out, and there's a brand new fire depot that was built for airplanes, tanker airplanes, to come in and stage themselves for fires, not just around Wyoming, but around surrounding states. And some of the baddest airplanes you've ever seen, I mean, just really impressive, of all sorts of different shapes and sizes, come in to get service there. So, I mean, I think I'm just going to go out next couple of days and just put a lawn chair out there and just watch.
Well, yeah, I tell you, you're familiar with where I'm located, and I have a little parking lot. Mm-hmm. It was filled. I should have sold T-shirts or something. Oh, geez,
probably could have.
It attracted a lot of looky-loos, that's for sure.
Yeah. All right, let's get to the weather real quick here, because while it is a typical warmer summer day today, it definitely is going to change in a couple of days.
Yeah, we've got changes coming, and these are changes that are welcome and really what the doctor ordered. It is still going to be very warm today, and for a good part of the state, still pretty warm tomorrow. It is going to start to cool off up north tomorrow. A cool surge coming out of Canada will reach northern Wyoming during the afternoon and evening hours of Wednesday. Then overnight Wednesday into Thursday, a north wind will blow, and that's going to be bringing air right out of north central Canada into the Rockies east of the divide. As we talked yesterday, Glenn, depends on where you are. If you're east of the mountains, you'll be the coolest and the wettest. West of the mountains, you'll cool off and have thunderstorms, but won't see the big cool down.
Okay. Now, for those people who are going to get the big cool down, it's going to feel like fall.
60s to near 70 is all we're going to do Thursday and Friday. Yeah, it will feel like fall. Does that mean fall will be early? Right. No, it doesn't mean that. But this is certainly a setup that will lead to cooler weather, more clouds, higher humidity, good rain chances in areas that have been experiencing fires. We saw some rain overnight and this morning up in northeastern Wyoming, especially up into Campbell County. And we're going to see rain go into the fire area by Guernsey. And this is going to help out the whole region in terms of the fire situation.
All right. Thank you, Don. Don Day with day weather. So, okay. Yeah, that's really good news that's coming to our area weather-wise in the next couple of days. Just hang in there. It's almost here. Off we go to the icebox where Frank Gambino is waiting by. Speaking of weather, Frank, of course, another hurricane moves up through Florida, right?
Yeah. I talked to some guy. He was flying down there, a friend of mine, and, it rained.
Yeah, well, yeah, was he down in like Fort Myers area?
Even north of that.
Yeah, okay, north of that.
They all got water.
Oh, yeah, they got loads of water.
And you wonder why homeowners insurance rates are through the roof in Florida.
Yeah. So I came across a checklist, hurricane to-do list. Now, first off,
stay safe. How about that?
Yeah, the rest of the world does this. Watch the Weather Channel, pack evacuation kit, get ready to evacuate, make sure your car's full of gas. Batteries, water, watch the Weather Channel some more, prepare your generators, board up the windows, okay? There's that. But then, there's what Florida does. Buy as much alcohol as possible, plan a hurricane party, pray it hits on a work or school day, buy more alcohol, make jokes about the hurricane's name, then a themed playlist of your favorite hurricane-style music, right? And then freak out when it actually hits head-on and is terrifying.
They do that.
They do.
Are these the idiots that have to be forcibly removed from their house, or they'll be dead?
Yeah. And there's always, this always gets me. There's always somebody. I mean, there's got to be somebody. Well, I'm not going to let some hurricane scare me. Hurricane doesn't care. It doesn't know you exist.
No.
It's not a living thing. It's like having a huge boulder come falling off of a cliff, and you look up and, well, I'm not going to get out of the way. It's not going to scare me. Well, then you're squished.
Yeah.
Just move, for Pete's sake, which is what I did. Now, the first, when I was younger in the radio business, I was the guy who stayed on the air. As I got older, I thought, let the younger guys do that, and I would just get out of the way. I'll come back when it's over.
What floor were you on in the building?
Well, it was higher up, more inland, and it was a building built like a bunker.
Perfect place to be.
Yes. Either that or out of state. Pick one.
Either way. All right, American Legion Baseball, the Cheyenne Post 6 Sixers in that Northwest Regional Tournament tomorrow. They'll take on the Eugene Challengers from Oregon. The Sixers come into that game with a record of 68-17, and Eugene is 46-8. Remember, Cheyenne won this regional tournament a year ago and became the first Wyoming team to qualify for the American Legion World Series, where they went 2-2. So that game tomorrow in Billings, Montana will start at 9:30 a.m. The Powell Legion A champions, they will not play in the Roseburg, Oregon Northwest Regional for various reasons, and they had a terrific season. They won 47-19 and defeated Cody for the state Legion A championship last week. In Major League Baseball, the Colorado Rockies will host the New York Mets today. The Rockies are an abysmal 41-72. Mets are 59-53. For the Mets, Cheyenne native Brandon Nimmo is their starting left fielder, and he has struggled this year. He's hitting .233 with 118 strikeouts in 106 games. He went 0 for 4 in the Mets win over the St. Louis Cardinals yesterday. At the Olympic Games in Paris, France, the U.S. men's basketball team will take on Brazil in a knockout round. Remember, the U.S. men have won the gold medal in the Olympics 5 straight times. Also, we have the women's 200-meter final, the men's 1,500-meter final in track and field, plus sport climbing, skateboarding, canoeing, water polo, equestrian, diving, and table tennis. In pro football, longtime Denver Broncos star Randy Gradishar was inducted into the National Football League Hall of Fame, and it's well-deserved. He was part of that Orange Crush defense in the late 70s and in the early 80s. At the linebacker spot, he was just an amazing tackler. 2,049 tackles over 10 seasons, and he was the 1978 Defensive Player of the Year in the NFL. That's it in sports.
Okay. So how much of the Olympics do we have left?
One more week. It goes all the way to the 11th.
Wow. Okay. Aren't these people exhausted by now?
Oh, no, we're only getting started.
Okay.
We have all the other swimming, the track events, and it just goes on.
Track events I'm interested in as far as the underwater ballet thing. Do they still do that?
Well, it was called synchronized swimming.
Synchronized swimming, is that what they call? Okay. I'm just not interested in that. Although synchronized diving can be really fun to watch.
I don't think that's an event there.
It is? No, it is. It's an event. They do have I don't know if they've done it already or not. But the diving competitions to me are just as interesting as watching anyone out there on the floor jumping, spinning, and twisting on the parallel bars or everything else they do,
All I know is they're not going to be swimming in that river.
No. Someone already got sick.
Yeah, and then they canceled the triathlon trials. No, let's go somewhere else. Try the English Channel or something. I don't know.
Go to the Hudson. That's cleaner.
Oh no.
Yeah, please. Thank you, Frank. Coming up on some local business, we got to take care. We're going to roll into news time after that. National local update on the weather forecast. I do have some more information on Harris's VP pick, but not a whole lot. The news organizations are scrambling for that. Open phones next hour, too. Wake Up Wyoming. 8:06 the time. It's Wake Up Wyoming. My name is Glenn Woods. Thanks for joining me. Okay, I've learned a little bit about Vice President Harris's vice presidential pick.
Today's show was sponsored by watermelon-shaped door handles, bringing that summer fruit to every door in the house.
And it's lickable. Just go ahead and lick that door handle. Not a problem. Yes, it is open phones. It's the most dangerous time of this program every single day.
Warning. Wake Up Wyoming is about to enter daily open phones. This means that anyone will be allowed to call in and talk about anything. I mean, imagine if we actually allowed you on air to say anything you wanted. Scary, right? Well, we're just that brand of crazy. If you are offended by what other people think, then maybe you want to tune out right about now. Just saying. If you should choose to call, just remember, the more funny and interesting you are, the longer Glenn will keep you on the line. Obnoxious jerks will be hung up on. Dave, all right, strap in, and let's do this thing.
888-97 Woods, the phone number, 888-97-WOODS. You can talk about what I'm talking about or change the subject. Okay, so we just got last hour, Vice President Harris picks her VP. And by the way, the Democrats have not had their convention yet. But they went ahead and took a vote behind the scenes anyway and officially picked her as. She's got all the delegates anyway. So she's officially their presidential candidate pick. So who for VP? And as I explained in the last hour, Democrats tend to do a lot of focus group testing in order to pick somebody. And they tend to pick someone who, what they see as balancing the ticket. Which is why when you had Barack Obama, you need an old white guy, so there's Biden. Okay, so when they were looking at the different picks, I don't know much about any of these people that were on the short list, but I did take a look at one guy and thought, probably him, although I didn't know his name. And I accidentally picked the right one, Tim Walz, because I looked at him, well, there's an old white guy. Well, here's a little bit of what we know about who he is, just a bit. He has been in the National Guard. He has been a representative in the House of Representatives for his state of Minnesota. Now he's governor as well, and he is as left progressive as it gets. So they didn't go moderate. They went as progressive as it gets. In fact, someone just found this quote from an interview. A lot of stuff is popping up really fast. So here's Tim Walz in an interview. I'm not sure exactly when this is, but the key line here is one person's socialism is another person's neighborlessness.
But we can get out there, reach out, make the case. And for one thing, don't ever shy away from our progressive values. One person's socialism is another person's neighborliness.
Okay, so you understand he sees himself as a socialist then. Let's see. There's more there. People are trying to find out as much as they can about him. Here's another one. I'm not sure what this is. This was the governor, Tim Walz, in the middle of the Black Lives Matter riots when Minnesota's largest city was on fire.
A society that does not put equity and inclusion at the center of it is certainly going to eventually come to the places where we're at. This is a moment of inflection. It's a moment of real change. It's a moment that those folks who are out there demanding this are not going to take a commission or a report. They're going to want fundamental change. And that is what I think, that's one of the exciting things in the midst of all this. You can feel a sense of optimism coming back.
So this was, again, BLM riots, one of his major cities, were on fire. And this is what he had to say. Here's one from, CNN. Again, one of his major cities in Minnesota was on fire, and Governor Tim Walz is, I believe he was speaking on CNN.
All right, so we are an hour and 12 minutes past curfew, and right now, the protesters rule the streets. The National Guard, nowhere to be seen. The state police, nowhere to be seen. The local police, nowhere to be seen. The sheriff's department, nowhere to be seen. The protesters are the ones that feel like these streets are their streets, which you will hear people chant.
Okay, so then I have to ask the question there, then where is the governor? During those riots, nowhere to be seen. Okay, let's see. Harris, Tim Walz, National Guard, numbers 2020. Again, back to the BLM. A lot of this is going to be on the BLM riots, which he was governor during that time.
I don't think the mayor knew what he was asking for. He wanted the National Guard, and what does that mean? I think to the mayor, yes, I think it's a perception. I'm certainly not questioning that. I think the mayor said, I request the National Guard. Phew, I'm out. This is great. We're going to have massively trained troops. No, you're going to have 19-year-olds who are cooks in some cases. And what are we going to do and how are we going to use them?
So he didn't want the National Guard to come in and stop the BLM riots. Get the idea. Okay, so, yeah, a lot of this, and I'm just getting it in as people start to go back and take a look at who this man is. That's the negative side of it. I'm sure you're going to hear the positive spin on the side of it, too, as for Tim Walz. I still take a look at what is their strategy in picking him, because this is not if Kamala Harris is as far left as she is, then would you pick someone who balances the ticket that is more moderate? Now, again, optics matter to political campaigns on something like this. Oftentimes, people are focus group tested before they're picked. Optics really matter. And you don't want someone who overshadows the primary candidate. That matters, too. So there's a lot of questioning and optics and discussion behind the scenes before they officially go out and pick someone. And so even Bernie Sanders was saying, think about that. Bernie Sanders wanted Tim Walz. He was one of those who was pushing to get Tim Walz as the VP pick. So if Bernie Sanders likes the guy, what does that tell you about him? Jeff is in Casper. Wasn't the original point of conventions to actually vote and pick a candidate to run for president and a VP candidate? It's too bad we don't go back to that. Well, and here's the thing, though. The Democrats, you got to give them credit for this. Democrats, and it's not a good thing necessarily, but it's a herd mentality. So whatever the leadership says to do, they all get together and they fight as a whole unit, as one, which is one of the reasons why I love the individualism of the more conservative mindset. But it makes it difficult to win some battles because everybody's being individuals and they're not fighting as a unit. So as soon as Biden was forced to step aside and Harris stepped up, immediately everybody rallied around Harris. They don't really know much, if anything, about her, but they rally around her because that's our pick. And so the reason they're not going to have a convention, those Democrats, is because, well, everybody's rallying around her. And so she got all of the delegates before they even had the convention. She got everybody. Well, since she already has all the delegates, then why not just take a vote and get it over with? And so they did. And so there's no discussion at this point. Now, I'm with you, Jeff. I think what they really should do is have a discussion about this. But no one wanted to step up. Nobody dared stand against the status quo. Nobody dared stand up to the establishment. Everybody just rallied around the person that they were told to rally around. And so that's what's happening here. And there are people who are supporting Harris that have no idea, they know nothing about it, but they don't care. Because when the Democrats say, this is our person, all Democrats huddle around and support that person. That's how they fight. And where I say I give them credit for that is credit as in they do fight as a unit. Now, the downside to that is nobody's thinking. There's no individual thought there. They're just told this is who we support, so we do. Nobody's thinking independently, and that is a big problem.
Fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me. Fool me 3 times, and you're pretty good at this, and I can respect that.
Admit it, you were hoping somebody would say that. This program is intended for immature audiences only. Wake Up Wyoming with Glenn Woods. Weekdays at 6 on air, on Alexa, and 24/7 on the Wake Up Wyoming app.
Wake Up Wyoming. So I'm going to leave most of it, unless you want to jump in on it. Governor Walz says Harris's VP pick. 888-97 Woods, the phone number, 888-97-WOODS. Now, the United Auto Workers Union have put out a statement in support of Walz because, well, he's brought them a lot of goods, so they like him. I also wonder if they really understand how much damage that he's done to the work that the United Auto Workers Union does. It's a lot like coal mining unions that used to be in favor of Democrats until Democrats started shutting down coal. But all right. With that in mind, let's get over to, I went to the Trump website just to read that real quick. And the Trump campaign writes, it's no surprise that San Francisco liberal Kamala Harris wants West Coast wannabe Tim Walz as her running mate. Walz spent his governorship trying to reshape Minnesota into the image of the Golden State, while Walz pretends to support Americans in the heartland. When the cameras are off, he believes rural America is mostly cows and rocks. From proposing his own carbon-free agenda to suggesting stricter emission standards for gas-powered cars, meaning trying to get you into an electric car, and embracing policies that allow convicted felons to vote, Walz is obsessed with spreading California's dangerously liberal agenda far and wide. If Walz won't tell the voters the truth, we will. Just like Kamala Harris, Tim Walz is dangerous liberal extremist. And every American's nightmare. You get the idea. That's from the Trump campaign. So both sides will then, of course, try to spin this, and this is what you're going to hear in the news for the next couple of days. And at some this I thought was funny. Right away on the ridiculously large television that I have in front of me, I keep on what's called Fox News Raw. And really all they do, they don't have much for commentators. Now and then they might interview somebody. But they really don't. They just put their cameras someplace. So when a hurricane is hitting Florida, they go to the Fox affiliate in Tampa Bay because that's the best news they have right there local. So as soon as Governor Walz was picked as the VP pick, they went to a Fox affiliate right there in the capital city of Minnesota to find out what they were talking about. In fact, those ladies are still on television right now because their local news station are talking about their governor being the pick. Okay, so this is what that station does, and most of the time there's multiple screen showing settings. Well, the local station in Minnesota had a reporter out in front of the governor's mansion. Now, this is something I've always thought was hysterical. So you got to run to the governor's mansion. Whenever there's a story breaking, quick send our reporters there. Now, as reporters from all sorts of news organizations all over the country gather in front of the governor's mansion there in Minnesota, what's happening, you might wonder? And the answer is nothing. Nothing is happening. The governor is inside. At some point, he's going to get in a car and drive to the airport because apparently he's supposed to meet Camilla somewhere and they have a press conference and so on. And that's it. So what do reporters have to talk about in front of the governor's mansion? Nothing. So why send them there? It always gets me that television stations do this. We're here live. Nothing's happening, but here we are. By gosh. So one reporter said, well, we went and talked to his neighbor. And the neighbor really didn't have anything to say, which disappointed me because I wanted to hear, yeah, his dog keeps pooping on my lawn or something like that. But no, they got nothing. But that's what reporters do. They immediately rush to where somebody lives and then camp out there waiting for something to happen, even though we all know nothing is going to happen. But there they are, by gosh, just in case. All right, 888-97-WOODS, the phone number, 888-97-WOODS. You can talk about what I'm talking about, change the subject. I'm fine. I'll roll with it. For those people who missed the program at 6 a.m., just too early for you to be up. PETA, yes, I know, people eating tasty animals, is at it again in Wyoming. So, of course, before we get into this, we have to play the perfect anti-vegan song to introduce the bit.
Tried to amend my carnivorous habits. Made it nearly 70 days. Losing weight without speed, eating sunflower seeds. Drinking lots of carrot juice and soaking over rays. But at night I'd have these wonderful dreams. Some kind of sensuous treat. Not zucchini, fettuccine, bulgur wheat. But a big warm bun and a huge hunk of meat.
Okay, you know the words. Here we go. Then there's the right way to eat it. Not bad. I like mine plain, just meat and cheese. I like mustard, not Heinz 57. But the big kosher pickle goes really well with that. Okay, so here's what's happening. If you go up into Casper, Wyoming, there's a billboard. It shows a chicken. The chicken looks angry. It's not Carl. That's my rubber chicken. It's a chicken that looks angry, and the chicken is holding an AK-47. Believe it or not, that's a PETA billboard. It reads, if bacon and burgers don't get you, I may. Bird flu kills. Please try vegan. Now, that's the billboard from PETA. And then they also offer up, you can go, if you want to get away from meat, and they tried telling you how dairy products is killing people. Not just dairy products, but also just meat products in general, red meat, chicken meat, stuff like that, how this is just killing you. Now, I was saying earlier this morning, I know quite a few vegans. Don't ask me why. I just know quite a few people who are vegans, and they don't look healthy to me. They really don't. They would look a lot healthier if they ate meat. They'd probably be a lot happier, too, and a lot less grumpy if they ate meat. The organization has even gone so far as to offer a vegan starter kit with empathy kits for people who need a lesson in kindness with animals. Wyoming, the story says, is the 12th state where cows have been infected with bird flu, which can be transmitted to human beings. PETA says eating meat, eggs, and dairy from animals who are crammed into filthy sheds and feedlots by the millions is disgusting, and these farms are breeding grounds for the next pandemic, PETA says. PETA urges everyone to go vegan before it's too late. Yet, people are living longer than ever before, and in part because we eat a healthy diet of meat. Now, I will admit, Americans especially, we eat too much processed foods, and we've gotten really big, and that's a bad thing. However, though, our diet is a good diet, especially a diet that's filled with meat. Now, a question came earlier this morning. If it's PETA, why does the chicken hold an AK-47? Yeah, wouldn't that be a bad thing? Well, I don't know. I don't know the answer to that. I bet you they had a long discussion, a very long discussion, but they're trying to convince you that eating all of this meat is killing you. And again, people are living longer than ever before in human history, so I don't necessarily see how that can possibly be the case. That's the billboard. If you're in the Casper area, look for it. Laugh and enjoy. I appreciate it when PETA puts up billboards like that because, as far as I'm concerned, it doesn't convince people to join them. It just makes people laugh at them, but that's fine. Let them. Coming up on 8:30, local news coming your way after local news, update on your weather forecast. You and I get back into it again, and it will be open phone. So 888-97-WOODS is the phone number. That's 888-97-WOODS, where you can talk about what I'm talking about, change the subject. I'm fine with all of it. I'm just going to roll. Go with the flow. It's Wake Up Wyoming.
Glenn Woods. He talks to you, not at you. Be part of the show at 888-97-WOODS. This is Wake Up Wyoming on K2 Radio.
8:36 the time. It's Wake Up Wyoming. So since I was making fun of vegans, PETA especially, people eating tasty animals. And of course, I can say vegetarians and vegans both at the same time. But here's the deal. First off, you get to do what you want to do. If you want to go ahead and go meatless, or for that matter, go as far as a vegan does, nothing with animal byproduct whatsoever, you do that if that's what you want to do. The problem that someone like me has is if you want to convince other people to join you, that's fine. But some of the tactics that PETA uses is over the top. I think PETA could possibly even get more converts if they weren't just so over the top with things. Now, it also comes into the whole fight for climate change. Got to stop climate change, right? Which is the story I gave you from the Olympics just a little while ago. They tried to, at the Olympics, go with no air conditioners inside the dorms for all of the athletes. And the athletes were having none of it, and they brought their own air conditioner units to plug in. Well, that's helping fight climate change, isn't it? But then the problem was the athletes also can eat there for free. Meals are provided in a big cafeteria setting. The problem was they tried to make it a vegan selection. And they did have some things like the fake meat Impossible burgers and other artificial fake meats. It looks like meat. It's supposed to taste like meat, but it's not really. It's made from all sorts of other artificial stuff. And immediately the athletes started to complain. I mean, there was an uproar. These are athletes. They need meat. And by God, they were going to get some. So the Olympic Committee caved in and trucked in the first day that they caved about 4,000 pounds of meat, which must have just driven PETA absolutely insane. I mean, completely insane. But this is what these athletes really do need in order to be able to do what they do. Story I have in front of me, the Germans men's hockey team panned the food served at the Olympic Village, calling it a disaster, while British athletes flew an additional chef out to Paris to bridge the shortfall of the meat supply. Andy Anderson, CEO of the UK Olympic Association, lamented the lack of protein, especially chicken and eggs and other things that vegans and people from PETA just hate. The Paris 2024 food what they were aiming for was to reduce animal protein to lower the game's carbon footprint, says the Games. The European Vegetarian Union, yes, the European Vegetarian Union, welcome the food vision for the Olympics. They said this is an opportunity to showcase to millions of people that plant protein is better. It's a better alternative than protein from animals. Well, you didn't convince anyone, especially the athletes who are eating this stuff and then trying to compete. Athletes requiring high animal protein diets, the story says, is a myth that has been busted a long time ago, says PETA. Those perpetuating it at the Games aren't basing their arguments on science, they argue. Well, they are. So here's a Mark Morano comment. He's from Climate Depot. Elite athletes are being lectured on what they should and can eat by non-athletic people. Also organizers and bureaucrats. So in other words, who would know better? The athletes know. They're the athletes. They know what their body needs. They know when they eat something and then go out to work out and practice, they know how their body reacts to the food they're putting into it. These dietary restrictions are piled on top of the Olympics' attempts to impose air conditioning rationing, he says, and miserably hot bus transportation services. The absurdity of the net zero climate agenda, he says, is on full display at the 2024 Summer Olympics in Paris. South Korea swimmers forced to vacate Paris Olympics, by the way, for their non-air-conditioned bus and sauna. And by the way, with the air conditioner, this is why they brought their own air conditioning units. You figure an athlete who has been participating all day, when they get back to the Olympic Village where they're supposed to be hanging out and resting and recovering, they need hot water, and they need a place where they can go cool down. Because you figure if someone is performing athletically at their level, they're going to need some place to cool down. And air conditioning certainly helps. But, yeah, we're going to take air conditioning out of the buses that drive these people around. We're going to take it out of their apartments in the Olympic Village. And then we're going to just feed them a bunch of vegetables and things that look like meat but aren't. And expect the athletes to be able to perform that way. Well, again, there was a rebellion. Someone opened up the meat porthole.
Well, there's so much waste in the world, and finally it dawned on us, why go to the grocery store when we've got this portal in the backyard that's constantly spewing raw meat?
As soon as the meat comes flying out of the portal, we clean it, wait for it to stop ringing, and then we cook it.
Ever since the portal opened up and started spraying meat all over our backyard, we've gotten way more into cooking than we were before.
We make all kinds of meals with the portal meat. Gourmet meatballs, carne asada. Burgers are probably our favorite. When we used to get the meat from the grocery store, we never knew where it was coming from. It's really reassuring to know that the meat we eat now comes straight from the portal in our own backyard. No GMOs, no preservatives, no bones whatsoever. Just raw, fresh meat from an unidentifiable animal. And so much blood. All right, who's hungry?
The portal meat is fresh, it makes us dream in black and white, and it tastes great. And any meat we don't end up eating ourselves, we just chuck back into the portal. We're pretty much 100% waste-free now.
Yeah, just about.
Feels great.
Cheers.
Cheers. This reminds me, as I think about what they tried to force on the athletes in the Olympic Village, all for the, idea of saving the planet and sustainability and stuff like that. So they try to force it on these athletes, and it is rejected. Much like around the world, there hasn't been much enthusiasm over things like the electric car and many other things that they try to force on us, which is why I say, honestly speaking, you can't create an artificial economy. People will find a way to get what they want. So let's just imagine, for the fun of it, someone tried to ban meat. Some dictator tried to ban meat. I guarantee you the people in that country are going to find a way to get it. All part of the whole sustainability thing.
Tired of chicken and fish for dinner every single night? Looking for something different to feed the family? Well, don't worry. Now it's okay to eat bald eagle and whale. New from Sustainable Foods. Yes, fresh kills. From wind turbines out west in places like Wyoming to fresh whale kills off the Massachusetts coast. Our wind turbines kill these animals quickly and humanely. Yes, unlike clubbing a baby seal, these animals never knew what hit them. And because it's green energy, it's good for the planet and sustainable. Yes, eating bald eagle used to be illegal, and our motto used to be save the whales. But now, screw them. What could be better on the 4th of July than freshly roasted bald eagle killed by an American wind turbine from Wyoming? And remember that big push to keep dolphins from getting caught up in tuna nets? Well, that's not okay. But whale kill from wind turbines, now that's green. Find sustainable alternate foods in your grocery store. There's plenty of room to put it in there since that fake meat and vegan food didn't work out.
Do I point out that it's not cow? Like, hamburger is a pig. Everyone knows ham comes from pig.
Holy Moses on a rocket-powered pogo stick. Bless her heart. Wait till she finds out about buffalo wings. It's going to absolutely blow her down my...
The only show broadcasting from a bunker under Devil's Tower. Hey, it's cold down here. Wake Up Wyoming with Glenn Woods, 6 a.m. weekdays on AM 1030 and FM 95.1.
It could be Alzheimer's. Talk about seeing a doctor together. Visit alz.org/time to talk. A message from the Alzheimer's Association and the Ad Council.
8:49 is the time. Off we go to the icebox. Frank Gambino waiting by. Okay, Frank, I have an update on the story that I gave you yesterday and even asked you to participate in.
Oh, I forgot. The ice cream cake.
You can still do that.
Is there still any left?
Well, yeah, there is. But by the way, there's a bit of karma that came along with this.
Oh.
So let's review real quick, people out there. There's a friend of mine who accidentally sent me a request to buy a birthday cake for one of her employees. She meant to send that to somebody else.
Okay.
But I'm going to go ahead and buy the birthday cake, and we're going to eat it here. And we just took pictures of ourselves eating it, saying, "Happy birthday, Molly," who never got her birthday cake, apparently.
And we don't know who Molly is.
Yeah, I have no idea who Molly is. Then as I wrote up the story with all the pictures, and Frank, you can still get involved. Okay. The cake is still there. Okay. Headline: Ice cream cake recall nationwide.
Is it poisonous or salmonella or something?
Ice cream dessert cakes have been recalled by Food and Drug Administration after they were found to contain bacteria causing food poisoning. Now, when they showed the cake involved here, it was more like the ice cream cake you find in your frozen food section.
Okay.
Which I did not get that. I went to a place that makes ice cream. An ice cream shop.
Bonus to you.
Yes, and then I got the good stuff.
Okay.
My only thought is there's a sharp knife out there. When you cut it, and please enjoy some, Frank, it is hard. You got to let it, it might need some softening before you eat it. I don't know how hard you like your ice cream.
Well, we'll do it the Glenn Woods way. We'll just throw it in the microwave.
For a couple of seconds. Yeah, go ahead and do that.
Oh, boy. American Legion Baseball, Cheyenne Post 6 will be in that Northwest Regional Tournament tomorrow morning at 9:30, taking on Eugene, Oregon. The Sixers won the state championship yet again. That's 5 in a row. And also, last year, won that Northwest Northwest Regional Tournament and became the first Wyoming team to ever qualify for the American Legion World Series that was held last year in Shelby, North Carolina. Eugene, the challengers, comes in at 46-8. So that's Cheyenne against Eugene in that Northwest Regional in Billings. That'll be tomorrow at 9:30 in the morning. Major League Baseball, the Colorado Rockies at home tonight to meet the New York Mets. The Mets are 59-53, and their left fielder is Cheyenne native Brandon Nimmo. It's been a tough year for him. He's hitting .233 with 118 strikeouts in 106 games. He went 0 for 4 for the Mets in their 6-0 win over St. Louis their last time out. Rockies come into tonight's game with a record of 41-72. They are awful. Men's basketball at the Olympics in Paris. The U.S. men's team will take on Brazil in the knockout round. Remember, the U.S. men have won 5 straight gold medals, and they got all the talent to win a 6th. Track and field, the women's 200 final today, the men's 1500 final today. Other events in the Olympics today, and there's a ton all over the place: sport climbing, skateboarding, canoeing, water polo, equestrian diving, and table tennis. Football, Randy Gradishar, the all-time great Denver Bronco linebacker, was inducted into the Pro Football Hall of Fame in Canton, Ohio over the weekend. He was part of that Orange Crush defense for the Broncos in the late 70s and early 80s. Amazing linebacker who was just impossible to get off his feet. He had 249 tackles in 10 seasons with the Broncos and was the 1978 NFL Defensive Player of the Year. And that's it in sports.
I, of course, am playing the home Olympics game.
Yes.
Which is how many events can I watch without falling asleep. The mad dash to the bathroom and back for a quick pee break before the commercial break ends.
Well, like in the Olympics, you'll have plenty of time.
Yeah.
You'll have plenty of time.
Oh, yeah. Usually you can and not. And then, of course, it's the kitchen dash to get snacks and come back. Mm-hmm. That kind of stuff there. So that's my home Olympic there. And then it's not sit-ups, it's recline.
Well, yeah, you got to... Yeah. Relax and absorb the...
Sitting up is work. Reclining
is no work.
Yes,
you will not get you're not going to get a medal for reclining.
I should get a gold medal in
reclining. No, it's not even. Yeah. You wouldn't even get a platinum medal.
Not really. Okay. I would beg to differ. I bet we could have a recliners Olympics, Frank. Well, and people would show up for that.
Oh, you know what? They probably would.
Yes, thanks, Frank. Coming up on some local business that we got to take care of. We're going to roll into news time after that. It's Wake Up Wyoming. Friday. Six the time. It's Wake Up Wyoming. It's a Tuesday, and as I said on Monday, boy, this is going to be a really interesting and really weird week.
Today's show was sponsored by watermelon-shaped door handles, bringing that summer fruit to every door in the house.
And they're lickable, too. They taste, just fantastic.
Warning, this show contains reference to guns, liberty, limited government, low taxation, the cult of climate change, free thinking, cigar smoking, short people, rubber chickens, Karen's bureaucracy, liberal buzzwords, tour runs, traffic, toilets, terrible jokes, and more. No apologies will be issued. Guest callers may express any opinion they want without fear of being canceled. Unless you're a loudmouth jerk like Dave, then Glenn will hang up on you. Strap in, hold on to your coffee, and feel free to participate.
This disclaimer does not refer to every person named Dave. Just one particular Dave from San Francisco. We know a lot of Daves. They call this show all the time, and they're great people. So don't call this program and complain that we use your name. That would be a real Dave move, Dave.
Okay, so Miss Mary has been out on some missions, but she now is back. So if you were trying to call the program earlier and you didn't get an answer, it's because she was off doing some pretty important stuff. But she's back at her desk now. So you can call in. 888-97 Woods, the phone number. That's 888-97 WOODS, and you can change the subject if you want. Real quick, getting back to, and I'm not going to spend a lot of time on it because I think I've said everything I can say about him, but Governor Walz, who's the pick for Kamala Harris as her VP pick. And that's, of course, what's dominating the news right now. But still what gets me is every so often I look up at the ridiculously large television that they have in the studio with me, and I suggest you try, if you just want news, without all the commentary, try Fox News Raw. What they do is they just put their cameras places and say, here's what's going on. Occasionally, someone is interviewed. But for the most part, no. They just say, here's what we're watching. Here are the news stories we're monitoring. And you can watch them monitor it. Sometimes it's just cameras put someplace and you can just see a press conference or whatever might be going on. Sometimes, though, it's ridiculous. So the governor of Minnesota is picked as the Democrat vice presidential pick, right? So, of course, reporters descend on his home, which is the governor's mansion in Minnesota. It's a beautiful place. The lawn is perfect. Beautiful place. Nice trees around it and all that. I mean, just looks stunning. So the governor's mansion is now surrounded by reporters. It is really ridiculous. Somebody has a drone up. It used to be there would be helicopters flying all overhead from different news organizations. Now the people just launch their drones, which is a lot more affordable. Besides the drones showed not just the grounds of the governor's mansion, where nothing is happening. Nothing. There's no reason to be there. Yes, the governor's inside, but nothing's happening. Reporters are all over the place outside. And a lot of them will take their cell phones and put them on selfie sticks and try to raise it up above the fence. It's got a nice fence that goes around, mainly for privacy, but it's a nice-looking fence. It goes way up high. But they're raising their cell phones on selfie sticks up above to try to get pictures over top. There's drones flying all over the place. So what's happening? And they're going live. Let's go live in front of the governor's mansion. What's happening? Nothing. Not a damn thing. But by God, we're here live. So much of what's going on is that right now, as reporters are paid to stand around and wait for something to happen, and at some point the governor is going to leave. He'll be driven to the airport because he's supposed to have a press conference with Harris somewhere, so they'll get that done. But again, and they did somebody tried interviewing a couple of the governor's neighbors, and they didn't get anything out of that, which I would have been the guy, damn governor's dog's always pooping on my lawn, is what I would have said. But whether it's true or not doesn't matter. That would have been fun. But no, there's nothing. And yet that's what reporters do because they got to fill the airtime. All right, moving on to the next thing. Let's get back to the state of Wyoming real quick here. And we're going to go to the Wyoming Senate for this. The president of the Wyoming Senate, Ogden Driscoll, Republican Devil's Tower, filed an election complaint against his own county Republican Party Monday, challenging a large donation it made. Now, this is from Cowboy State Daily. Driscoll has made a formal complaint to the Secretary of State's office over a $25,000 donation Cook County Republican Party made to the Wyoming Freedom Political Action Committee, the campaign arm of the farther right than Driscoll is group, or so they're known as the Wyoming Freedom Caucus to many of you. Driscoll also asked in the complaint that it immediately be forwarded to the Attorney General of Wyoming, Bridget Hill, because he believes Secretary of State Chuck Gray has a conflict of interest in the issue. This is in reference to Gray's Chief General Counsel, Joe Rubino. Rubino is married to Jesse Rubino, Wyoming State Director for the Freedom Caucus. As Chief General Counsel, Joe Rubino is in charge of receiving all complaints made to the Secretary of State's office. In his complaint, Driscoll said when he brought the issue up with Gray in person, Gray shrugged it off and said there was little he could likely do about it, suggesting Driscoll contact his own county attorney. Quote, I think it's imperative that all complaints be followed up on in an unbiased manner, Driscoll writes in the complaint. I am yet to see a referral to the authorities under the current Secretary of State. Driscoll told Cowboy State Daily that he hopes Secretary of State Chuck Gray will hand off the complaint. I doubt it, he said. They haven't shown any signs of acknowledgement of a conflict of anything that they've done. It's clear conflict. Gray, however, told Cowboy State Daily he considers all complaints very serious, and he says Driscoll's allegations to the contrary are false and defamatory, and Driscoll filed a complaint last Thursday. So the issue is this. In his complaint, Driscoll references what is a Wyoming statute which states that political parties in Wyoming can't give money to candidates for the primary election. It's after the primary, when a candidate has been picked, that the local political party can put its money behind that. But before then, they can't play favorites. The law states that no political party money shall be spent directly or indirectly in the aid of a nomination of any one person against another person while the primary is happening. So they can't pick favorites. What happens, happens. When speaking to Cowboy State Daily about the issue last month, Driscoll called the county's party elections deplorable. He said, the statute is very clear in its intent, Driscoll writes in the complaint. Whether given directly to a candidate or a PAC, whose stated goal is to pit Republican against Republican, it's clear the donation goes against that statute. So this is what they're fighting about right now. We'll see how this plays out. It's just an interesting drama coming out of Crook County.
Woke Radio WOKE. Your donations keep us going, so go borrow some money from Mom and send it our way.
So many opinions, we had to build the Wake Up Wyoming mobile app to hold them all. Free download from AM 1030 K2 Radio.
9:20 is the time. It's Wake Up Wyoming. One sure sign that times are hard economically across the United States. Well, and it's not just that economic tough times. Yeah, there's other problems as well, but that's one of them. Retail theft continues to grow. Story in front of me says shoplifting has soared in the U.S. in 2024, forcing many stores to leave cities and continue a trend in recent years. Shoplifting has risen 24% for the first half of 2024 alone, according to a new release from the Council for Criminal Justice. The White House cited data to boost a drop in violent crime so far this year, but a closer look at the data shows that while violent crime has declined some, shoplifting continues to rise, and 24% is a huge number. Story says shoplifting has become a major problem in cities around the country, especially, with some store owners announcing they had to close because of increased theft. I do know that there are some activist groups out there that really get mad, like when a major retail chain store that serves so much of the community, food, medicine, diapers, whatever, closes its shop. There's some activists that get really mad. Well, you're just being racist because you're leaving that part of... No, because they can't stay open. They're losing money like crazy. They can't keep doing this. It also doesn't help that some major cities have just allowed shoplifting. That's where the shoplifters had learned if you steal below $1,000, they're not going to waste time coming after you because there's so many cases to prosecute they can't keep up. That's where we've seen those flash mobs even show up. People just load up carts and run out the store, and there's nothing anybody can do about it. Nobody's going to be prosecuted. That's part of the problem. I think also inflation is a good part of the problem. But also there's a matter of, let's add some more into this. What do you think? Illegal immigration. Because here people come into this country with no means of support. And how are they supposed to survive? Some will go looking for work for sure, of course. But they're not supposed to be working because they're not here legally. But then others will just do what they can to survive. And so, of course, there goes crime on the rise. Now, if you want to add, inflation happens for many reasons, not just one. One of the things that will cause an increase in inflation, of course, is shoplifting. stores operate at a loss. All stores, I learned this because years ago I knew when I first started in this business that I was going to be between radio stations from time to time as I got my start, which did happen. Companies are sold, formats are changed. I show up for work one day only to find out they're cleaning the house and they're starting all over again. Didn't matter if I was doing good or not on the air. We're changing everything, and I'm out of a job. And so I got some training as a retail manager, and I ran a couple of retail stores in my early years. One of the things I found out is retail stores put into their metrics profit and loss. So much money has to go to advertising. So much money has to go toward many other things that can bring down profits. And one of them is retail theft. How much on average gets stolen from a store by shoplifting? That's part of the profit and loss because they know it's going to happen. And you probably have noticed that if you walk into, for example, a Walmart, it used to be the Walmart greeter faced you. When you walked in the door, you had a Walmart greeter standing there saying hello, pushing a shopping cart your way. Welcome to Walmart. What are you looking for? Can I direct you that way? Now that same person is turned the other way and is standing there checking your items on the way out, looking for theft. And if some people get upset by that, but my answer is, well, they got to do something because so much is just walking out the door. You got to do something to stop all of this. Now, some people have complained, well, the self-checkout line doesn't help. People could steal with or without the self-checkout line. That doesn't matter. Yeah, but so much is walking out the door. I could never in good conscience do something like that. My mind doesn't work that way. There's no way I could pick up something, shove it into my pocket, and walk out the door without paying for it. It would just drive me insane. But that's having a conscience. So many people don't. So add that to the list. I add illegal immigration and so much more, including inflation and bad economics and so on, that will add to why people will shoplift because they're trying to make it. Jess is on the phone to talk about that. Morning, Jess.
Good morning, Glenn. Hey, I'll tell you what, I cease to be amazed at the idiots that do these things, because what do they expect is going to happen on crime if there is no penalty associated with it? If they don't charge people, let's say if they want to set a limit of $50 or something like that, might be more realistic. But the criminals, it just encourages more crime.
Yeah. It does. In fact, it lets them know that if there's nothing that's going to happen to them, then they just deserve what's in there. They can just pick up and walk out. Thank you very much for the free stuff.
Yeah, they're going to lose a lot of businesses, going under because they can't absorb that much loss.
No, they
All right,
can't.
thanks, Glenn.
All right, thanks. No, he's absolutely right. You can't absorb that much. That's why I started this by saying a lot of big companies have picked up and left major cities, and especially areas that have a high crime rate. And now, again, they get accused of, well, that's racism. You should be helping these people in these lower income communities and so on. And it's not at all. They just can't absorb that much of a loss. There's absolutely no way. And so they end up relocating those stores into places that, shoplifting is going to happen everywhere. But at least it's such a little amount. I was talking to someone this weekend who we were noticing that when we were much younger, you could show up to school with a gun rack in the back of your car, with loaded guns up in the gun rack in the back of the pickup truck, and leave the truck unlocked. This is in high school. And when you would come back, nobody said anything. And the guns were still there, and the pickup truck had never been touched. Now, try doing that these days. Not only will the school freak out, of course, you can't do that because the school will freak out, but you know what's going to happen. In fact, even just this weekend, I came across a young lady who, her car had been stolen here in Wyoming, and they found it in Montana, and had been stolen by a 14-year-old. That's the way I heard the story. And they found the thing in Montana. Okay. I don't know if she left her keys in it or whatever the case is, but there was a time you wouldn't have to worry about that. There's always been crime. There always has been. But I think a big difference is most people were raised with a moral compass. And that makes a huge difference. Not just to not steal, but to not be a burden on the rest of society and take care of themselves. Coming up on some local business we have to take care of, we're going to roll into local news. After that, update on your weather forecast. Then more. 888-97 Woods, the phone number. That's 888-97-WOODS. Wake Up Wyoming.
Now, Glenn Woods fits in your pocket with the Wake Up Wyoming mobile app. This is AM 1030, K2 Radio.
Let's do some yeses now. How about that? Come on. We switch this up just a little bit. All right.
Please, no.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Yeses. There we go. Okay, so 888-97 Woods, the phone number. That's 888-97-WOODS. You can talk about what I'm talking about. Change the subject. Fine by me. I do have a story that I'm going to get into maybe a little bit later this week. You've heard me talk about before how a lot of stuff that's called green technology is really bad for the environment. Even though they talk about green, sustainable, affordable, reliable, all sorts of things like that. And I keep telling you, a lot of this stuff is worse for the environment than what we were using before. Well, I have a whole list here that I'm going to go through. And I'll get into how, coal gas oil is not perfect, but it is better than what the green environmentalists are trying to do. So I'll save that for a little bit later this week. But I'll give you an example I've given you a few times before on this. There was a time that, and this is, I forget what year this was. It was in the 80s, that environmentalists, for example, were upset that we were using so many dyes in things, like food coloring. Like when you pour a soda, that's all food coloring and dyes. But also in your shampoos, in your cleaning products. Lots of the colors that you see there are not the natural color of the products, but it's color added so it's more attractive to your eye when you go and buy it. And they actually will study and focus test to find out what colors are most attractive to you. You ever notice when you're buying ice cream, the kind of ice creams that kids like are more colorful than the ice cream that you older adults will get? Well, yeah, kids like brighter colors like that, and adults tend to like a different kind of color. And our tastes change, not just our taste buds, but our eyes as we get older. So one day, all concerned about what food coloring and other such dyes in our products were doing to the environment and to us, because it could cause cancer, et cetera, et cetera. There was a big push to get rid of all of this coloring. And so companies started coming out with clear. Now, you've heard me talk about this as a buzzword. Clear was a buzzword. Everything became clear. Even products that had nothing to do with food coloring or whatever, it was clear. Because clear, like today, sustainable is a buzzword used in so many different things, even where it doesn't make sense. So they started coming up with all these clear products. And I remember going into the grocery store and finding all of the cleaning products for my house, whatever room in the house it might be, were clear. It looked like water in there. It was clear. Because that was the big push. Get rid of all that coloring. It's clear. They even had clear Pepsi. So many things had gone clear of all sorts of different kinds of products. Then one day, it was discovered that making a lot of these products clear, see-through like water, did far more damage to the environment and to the customers than just using the dyes that we were using before. So that's why they dumped the whole thing. The same thing is true when it comes to, you've heard me talk about wind and solar and electric cars and all sorts of other green things that they say are green and good for the environment. And the big buzzword is sustainable, right? Carbon neutral and sustainable. It turns out that most of what they're trying to push on us is worse for the environment, not better, much like the clear phase we went through. So while using coal, gas, and oil is not perfect, I mean, you'll hear me say ad nauseum that CO2 is not a pollutant. But as you know, if you work with coal, gas, and oil, there are some things in there that we do have to worry about. That could be bad for the environment and bad for us. And so we found ways of taking care of that and making it better, not as harmful, if harmful at all. But turning over to what they're calling the greeny movement is calling sustainable, affordable, reliable, et cetera, is none of those things. In fact, is actually more harmful than good. It's definitely not as sustainable. It's definitely not affordable or reliable or clean or green. It's none of these things. It's actually worse than what we were doing before. And so just like we dumped the whole clear movement to go back to what we were doing before, which is not perfect, but it's better than going clear. The same thing should happen with the whole environmental movement. I know they want to keep all coal, gas, and oil in the ground, but using that stuff is much better for the environment and better for us than what they're proposing. That's part of the argument that I'm going to be making over the next couple of weeks or so. Not all at once, in little bits and pieces. I'll tell you about it. But just some of the things that they've offered up that are supposed to be better and turn out to be far worse and have a much more damaging impact than if we had just continued doing what we were doing before. Now, I'm not look, if someone comes up with a better idea, I'm all for it. But you know it's a better idea when they don't have to force it on us. And that's a huge clue. It's really a good idea when they don't have to force it on us, when we look at it and understand, oh, we should be doing that. That's better. It is actually more affordable, reliable, et cetera, et cetera. Coming up on 9:43, Wake Up Wyoming.
Local and mobile across Wyoming and beyond with the Wake Up Wyoming mobile app. This is AM 1030 K2 Radio.
9:48's the time. Wake Up Wyoming. Off we go to the icebox. Frank Gambino is waiting by. Frank, have you seen wandering around Wyoming? There's one of those Tesla Cybertrucks.
Oh, I saw one in where did I saw? Daytona Beach, Florida.
Oh, okay.
So I'm sitting there.
Yeah.
You know, and then they have like little bar stools with the bars that are right next to the beach.
Sure. Yeah.
And this is driving by, and I looked at the other guy, the other people that were sitting at this little table there, like,
yeah,
what is that?
Yes, right. Yeah. Okay.
It is their SUV, and it looks like something out of a space movie.
It's supposed to be
something like a lunar rover.
Yeah, it's supposed to be a pickup truck.
Oh.
And see, there's a door that automatically rolls down to cover up the bed, which is why you probably didn't see it. Unless they open that up, then you can see the pickup truck bed of it. What'd you think?
It looks kind of strange, to
be
honest with you.
Well, here's where, because there's been a lot of people making fun of the way the Cybertruck looks, all-electric vehicle. And now I think we have finally come across the final decision on whether that's a good-looking truck or not. This guy takes his truck camping, right, and wakes up in the morning to find that the thing in the back where the plastic meets, where the roll-down bed closing door there meets the tailgates, has been ripped apart and chewed on and clawed on by raccoons. And
why is he leaving food in the truck?
Right close to that was a dumpster.
Oh.
And the raccoon thought that the Cybertruck was another dumpster. So, our dumpsters out back, we close the lid, but raccoons know. And they can get into that even if we close the lid. They figured it out. So with the Cybertruck, they're looking at this, which is right near a dumpster at the campsite. And they're thinking that the Cybertruck basically is another dumpster, and they're trying to get into it because they think there's stuff in the back. Like food and garbage inside.
Oh, he's mistaken the dumpster for the truck.
So now we know, when you see a Cybertruck, we know, one of those Tesla electric trucks. What is your opinion? I think it looks like a dumpster. That's what raccoons think.
Yeah, Frank thinks it's something from a lunar rover.
Lunar rover kind of thing, yeah. That's okay. Well, so far, look, if some people like stuff like that, I mean, obviously some people do like it because a few of them have been sold. And I've seen one wandering around Wyoming. And if that guy...
yeah, that's right. There is one somewhere here.
Yeah, in fact, I just on a whim, because I love the place, decided to go to Independence Rock one weekend. And one pulled in right next to me. Parked right smack next to me, right there.
Oh, he said he gave you a ride or something.
Well, I just kind of walked around and looked at it, and my thought was, if you're into it, pal, but my answer is, looks like I'm with the raccoons on this one.
Yeah, El Paso. American Legion Baseball, Post 6 out of Cheyenne, will be in the Northwest Regional Tournament tomorrow in Billings, Montana. They will play at 9:30 in the morning, meeting the Eugene, Oregon Challengers. The Sixers are 68-17. Eugene comes in at 46-8. Remember, a year ago, Post 6 won that Northwest Regional and advanced to the American Legion World Series in Shelby, North Carolina, marking the first time that a Wyoming team has qualified for the Legion World Series. They went 2-2 in that deal. So they'll start things off 9:30 tomorrow morning up in Billings. Cheyenne Post 6 versus Eugene. Major League Baseball, the Colorado Rockies hosting the New York Mets tonight in Denver. For the Mets, who are 59-53, their left fielder is Cheyenne native Brandon Nimmo, who's had a little bit of a struggle this year. He's at .233 with 118 strikeouts in 106 games. He's 0 for 4. Went 0 for 4 in their 6-0 win over St. Louis yesterday. At the Olympics in Paris, men's basketball, the U.S. will take on Brazil in the knockout round. In the women's track and field, the women's 200 final later today or this morning, and the men's 1500 final later today or this morning. Also today, sport climbing, which is, they climb the rocks as fast as they can up, up a 15-foot wall, then a 50-foot wall. That's part of the thing today. Skateboarding, I'm not sure I'm going to watch skateboarding. Canoeing, water polo, equestrian, diving, table tennis, and the show goes on in Paris. In the NFL, Randy Gradishar is now a Hall of Fame linebacker from the Denver Broncos. He was inducted over the weekend in Canton, Ohio. He was part of that Orange Crush defense for the Broncos in the late 70s and early 80s. He was just a tackling machine. They just could not get this guy off his feet. He had over 2,000 tackles in 10 seasons with the Broncos and was the 1978 Defensive Player of the Year in the National Football League. And that's it in sports.
I think I probably will try to watch skateboarding because, after watching the BMX bike guys, which were just phenomenal, I bet the skateboard guys would do an equally good show.
Well, yeah, if they do those half pipes and everything.
Oh, my Lord, yeah.
I want to watch this this climbing thing.
Oh, that should be, and I would bet that they're just free climbing it too.
Yeah, free climbing, and it's how fast you can get to the top.
Wow, that's just
like they do it in like 6 seconds.
Yeah, I mean, Spider-Man would look at that and go, damn.
That's about what it is.
It's about what it looks like. Okay, now that's something I think is worth watching, too. I think as I said before, Olympic sports is more about the things that people do for recreation today than what the Olympics was originally about. I know. But that's okay, because there's some interesting stuff out there.
As long as they don't make cornhole an Olympic sport, life is good.
If they can make curling an Olympic sport, cornhole is not far behind.
No.
Thank you, Frank. Coming up on some local business we got to take care of. We're going to roll into news time after that. National local update on the weather forecast. Wake up, Wyoming.